Today's Japanese slang term is one of my favorites, as I really like the metaphor of a Kintaroame scenario. So this is a combination of scenario, which is a scenario, and Kintaroame, which are a type of candy that, if you're not familiar, are made of long sticks with kind of an image. Traditionally, the image is of Kintaro, who is a Japanese folklore child with powers, but anything can be there. Indeed, there are wonderfully beautiful ones that are made, but importantly, when you make them, you create like a long stick of sugar with the image, and then you chop it, and so every candy that you get, no matter where you chop on that line, looks the same, as you see in this video. As a result of this, Kintaroame have kind of become a metaphor. And this metaphor is not restricted to the specific slang term I mentioned at the beginning of this video. It's used quite commonly to mean something that is kind of cookie cutter or commonplace, something that doesn't really have originality to it. For instance, this person here is talking about a metal band and saying that their early music was kind of like Kintaroame, in that every track sort of sounded the same. Likewise, this person uses the phrase to refer to how their old DM in a tabletop RPG used to run sessions that kind of all had the same feel to them. In other words, they weren't really original missions, they were just kind of reskins. That said, in some cases, this metaphor can be positive, as in this tweet here, which is talking about a movie that they're referring to as like the candy, because no matter where you cut it, the scenes are really gorgeous. But again, this would be a rarer use. The specific idea of a Kintaroame scenario, though, is used by fans specifically of otome games, which are romance games where you play as a female protagonist. Now, like a lot of romance-based games, visual novels, etc., the ideal version of these games for many players is that depending on the person you romance, the story is going to be massively, if not completely different. And indeed, many players of these games like to play them romancing every single character to kind of see what happens. However, a game that is referred to as a Kintaroame scenario is a game where no matter who you romance, the overall development of the plot kind of goes the same way. For instance, you might bump into the character on the street, then you find out that they're in your class, things don't go very well, but then at the end of the game, you're in love. If that happens for every single character you choose, then you are in a Kintaroame scenario. Hey, did you know that if you pause a video to confirm some things while you're recording, and then you come back and you don't press the unpause button and give the rest of the lecture without unpausing, it doesn't actually record it? I just learned that. We learned so much together in these videos. That's great. Anyway, to jump back into the scenario that we're talking about, an important thing to note is that this is not, therefore, a synonym for cookie cutter, because when we say that a game is like cookie cutter in English, at least to me, that means that the game follows a pattern that we've seen before. The Kintaroame scenario is instead within the game itself. Like, the story in the game might be completely original, but regardless of what character you choose to romance, your experience throughout the game is the same. That said, while this term is absolutely predominantly, and from what I can tell, first used in relation to otome games, it can also be used for like RPGs and similar things where you're presented with choices that are supposed to matter, but as we all know, sometimes don't. We saw this earlier with the person talking about tabletop RPGs, but here's another example. You can see someone talk about Star Ocean. The translation says cookie cutter, but again, that's not the point. What they actually mean is that regardless of which character you choose, you actually do get a different experience rather than the same one. But again, this is especially common when talking about kind of love stories. And this term has been used at least since 2009. Indeed, the oldest post I can find for it somehow actually is translating it, which is great, and also introduces a term of tempura dojin, which they say is a comic which looks great on the outside, but actually isn't that interesting on the inside, which is not the experience that I usually have with tempura. But I'm sorry to hear that it's happened to enough people that this metaphor works. Although that said, this tempura dojin term does not seem to be very, very common. If you look for it on Google in quotes, there are less than 100. But there are tweets like this in 2018 asking if the term still communicates to people. And this person in 2022 using it with the exact definition the other person gave. So maybe this is very much a within the community term rather than one that's well established. Anyway, all in all then, I really like Kintaroame scenario, as I mentioned. I think the metaphor is really cute, and while I don't play otome games because I'm an uncultured swine, I have played a large number of RPGs, and some of those I have been frustrated with because I go back, try to play it again, and find out that, oh, the choices I made didn't actually matter because no matter who I choose or what route I take, I end up in the same place, and I love having a word that can now describe that sensation. So yeah, there you go. See you in the next video, which will probably be another Japanese slang review. Oh god. Am I a Kintaroame scenario?